Last month, India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh cast serious doubts about the status of India's nuclear no first use doctrine by saying, Pokhran is the area which witnessed Atalji's firm resolve to make India a nuclear power and yet remain firmly committed to the doctrine of no first use. India has strictly adhered to this doctrine. What happens in future, however, depends on the circumstances. The Defence Minister's statement sent the Indian strategic community into a tizzy, with Pakistan and China carefully evaluating their own nuclear postures in the light of what he said. I personally think his statement is not in keeping with the doctrinal thinking that has been evolving in the Indian military for close to 2 decades now. Put differently, there is a contradiction between what Rajnath Singh said and the state of India's military strategy and military thinking at this point. So, in this short video, I will explain this contradiction, or what I believe is the contradiction, to you. A little background. India had declared a no first use of nuclear weapons policy ever since it tested its nuclear weapons in 1998. India's NFU, or no first use policy, however, is not a clean one, because India says it would use nuclear weapons if it is attacked with chemical or biological weapons, not just with nuclear weapons, which makes India's NFU a weak one. Be that as it may, this was still a major declaratory policy from the Indian side. So, what did nuclear weapons do to South Asia? The existence of nuclear weapons with India and Pakistan and the use of sub-conventional warfare by Pakistan in Jammu and Kashmir created a dilemma for India. What is the dilemma? That India is unable to respond to Pakistan's sub-conventional provocations using conventional means for fear of nuclear escalation. Referred to as the stability-instability paradox, a great deal has been written about it in the theoretical literature on nuclear strategy. The American scholar Glenn Snyder describes the situation as follows. The greater the stability of the strategic balance of terror, the lower the stability of the overall balance at lower levels of violence. This is, of course, the basic understanding of the instability-stability paradox, or stability-instability paradox. Pakistan used this situation to engage in sub-conventional violence under the nuclear shadow, which India consistently found difficult to respond to. This put India in a dilemma. More so, Pakistan threatened to use tactical nuclear weapons to any Indian conventional provocation, while at the same time denying that it has anything to do with the terrorist violence against India. By the way, TNWs, or theater nuclear weapons or tactical nuclear weapons, are low-yield nuclear weapons used for tactical purposes and tactical ends. After the terrorist attacks on the Indian Parliament in 2001, the Indian Army undertook a massive mobilization, Operation Parakram. But the Army's formations, which were deep inside the country in hinterland India, took weeks to mobilize, completely losing the element of surprise. India lost the surprise and also did not have the stomach for a major conventional strike against Pakistan, fearing Pakistan's tactical nuclear weapons. So, India had to find that critical space under the nuclear threshold to carry out a quick conventional reprisal for a terror strike against India without provoking Pakistan's TNW use. This is when the Indian Army started thinking out of the box. From there on, the Indian Army reportedly formulated a proactive doctrine known as the cold start. Cold start aims to launch swift offensive against Pakistan, but its existence was consistently denied until it was acknowledged for the first time by Army Chief General Bipin Rawat in 2017, just 2 years ago. Today, the term cold start has been replaced by proactive operations with almost a similar intent. The Army is also undertaking major structural changes to put this doctrine into place by creating what is called, among other things, integrated battle groups or IBGs for quick offensive action. According to news reports, IBGs are brigade-sized, agile, self-sufficient combat formations which can swiftly launch strikes across the line of control or the international border against the adversary. In short, the Indian military has been trying to establish room for or space for conventional warfare well within the nuclear threshold or below the nuclear threshold that doesn't escalate to a nuclear confrontation between nuclear armed India and Pakistan. Now let's look at what happened in February this year after the Pulwama terror attack. In one sense, the military standoff between India and Pakistan in February this year showcased that there is some space for quick conventional action under the nuclear shadow. Consider, for instance, that Pakistan did not even use the usual nuclear rhetoric during the February standoff. There was little nuclear talk in Pakistan. More so, given that Pakistan's conventional performance was impressive during the February air standoff, may have led them to believe that they can withstand an Indian conventional operation at least for a few weeks. If that is the case, if I'm interpreting it correctly, it might be possible to argue that over the past 2 decades, the Indian military, in particular the Indian Army, has been trying to create space, room for conventional operations under the nuclear threshold, which it may actually have found now. Now, let's take a look at the Defence Minister's statement once again in this background and context. By unnecessarily bringing in the nuclear dimension to the India-Pakistan conflict and context, something which the Indian strategists have long tried to avoid, the Defence Minister may have unwittingly undermined Indian Army's conventional strategy vis-à-vis Pakistan, which it has been developing. Let's face it, for a conventionally superior power like India, it is in its own interest to ensure that the fight remains purely conventional, where it has a real chance of victory in the longer run or in the medium run. Now, nuclear talk doesn't suit this objective. So clearly, in my understanding, this was the politician in Rajnath Singh who was speaking, not the Defence Minister of the country. Thank you for watching.
To receive instant updates on all videos from The Wire, click the subscribe button and hit the bell icon. Pay to support independent journalism. Click the link in the description and choose the amount you want to pay.